Good morning. I am Michael Rivera, Berks County Commissioner and the 2024 President of the County Commissioners Association of Pennsylvania. Thank you to all the media representatives and supporters that are joining us here today. Just a quick housekeeping item before we begin. When the presentation concludes, there will be an opportunity to conduct one-on-one interviews with county leaders here in the Rotunda for about 15 minutes. I'm joined today by members of our CCAP board who will be presenting the 2024 legislative priorities chosen by the counties across the Commonwealth. For the coming year, Pennsylvania counties have selected 8 priorities that represent their proactive legislative agenda. Our members selected these issues because they have the greatest significance and the most potential for positive impact on counties in the coming year. Achieving these priorities will not only improve county government, but more importantly, they will improve our communities and the lives of those we serve across the entire state. Our 2024 county legislative priorities include 911 funding and reauthorization, county mental health-based funding increase, addressing inmates with mental health issues, Juvenile detention capacity crisis, broadband access and development, increasing the prevailing wage threshold, right to know reform, and vote by mail reforms. These priorities reflect our ongoing commitment to providing exceptional services while using taxpayer dollars in the most effective and efficient way possible. We believe these 2024 priorities reflect county needs that are essential for us to continue successfully providing critical services to Pennsylvania residents. Services that affect our everyday lives, our health, our safety, our economy, and our democracy. By announcing these priorities at the state capitol, we are signaling the need for a strong partnership with the Shapiro administration and with the General Assembly to advance these issues and achieve real, meaningful reforms. While our priorities span the many responsibilities of the counties, CCAP's top priority for 2024 will continue to focus on 911 funding and reauthorization. Counties are proud to provide one of the most important functions in public safety, the operation of the 911 call-taking and dispatch system. As technologies continue to evolve, funding streams no longer align with current realities, even with the small increase voted on by the General Assembly in December. Counties need to be able to rely on consistent and sustainable funding to maintain their responsibility as the first line of emergency response. At a surcharge of just $1.95, counties and ultimately county taxpayers are still shouldering 25 to 30% of the cost of the 911 system. Compared nationally, Pennsylvania has an average fee, but unlike other states, that fee must cover a significant majority of 911 operational costs. With just 2 years until the next reauthorization, Pennsylvania counties urged the General Assembly and the Governor to begin having real conversations about proper 911 funding immediately, so this life-saving service does not become a perpetual back burner issue. Counties are actively working with PEMA, legislative committees, emergency management professionals, the communications industry, and other interest on improvements to the 911 system. Centered to this effort is an investment in next generation 911, also known as NG 911, to support current and future measures that people can use to communicate in an emergency. With proper investments, we can improve the system's efficiency, leading to things more accurate, like a GIS data, and better regional systems to assure availability and reliability. A strong, connected 911 system is crucial to ensuring services can still be provided efficiently in situations of mass emergency and can keep up with the pace of ever-changing technological advances to maximize emergency services delivery. Achieving this priority would ensure all Pennsylvania residents and visitors will continue to have a quick and efficient connection to a 911 operator and services in any situation, regardless of geographic location or time of day. I would now like to introduce Northampton County Commissioner Lori Vargo-Hefner to discuss in greater details our goals related to the mental health base funding and county inmates with mental health issues. Thank you.
Thank you, President Rivera. Counties deliver critical mental health services such as community mental health residential programs, family-based support, outpatient care, and crisis intervention on behalf of the state. These services must be properly funded to ensure that the residents are able to access the care that they need. The lack of adequate state funding, paired with increased demand, has pushed the community mental health system to the point of collapse. For that reason, counties are once again calling on a funding increase of $250 million in the county mental health base for the coming fiscal year. We cannot stress enough the importance of increasing the annual investments in the state's mental health community-based funding before adding any additional programs or services. This increase would help counties to maintain and rebuild the existing safety net of services. Currently, capacity within the services that are available falls short of community needs. Community members frequently report wait times of at least 6 months or longer, and sometimes much, much longer. A critical first step is stabilizing these existing services by reinforcing and addressing workforce gaps. Counties estimate that an additional $1.2 billion is necessary to fully bolster, rebuild, and add programs that adequately meet community needs. While we counties appreciate the $20 million increase the state made in the county mental health base for this fiscal year, the 2023-24 state budget also provided a one-time $100 million fund dedicated to school-based mental health services. Counties agree that we must be investing in the behavioral health needs of our children and youth. However, the state's priority must be to adequately support the broader community-based system in order to make sure we are supporting all individuals, including youth and families, throughout our communities across the age continuum through meaningful impact and coordinated investments. Creating a separate mental health system in the schools will not provide Pennsylvania's children and families with the holistic mental health services that they need, nor does it relieve the broader system of the strains that it currently faces. By creating sustainable annual investments in the community-based system mental health system, Pennsylvania's children and youth would access services wherever their need is, in or out of schools, and along with their families as well. And anyone in the Commonwealth would be able to access timely and appropriate mental health services without undue burden. Furthermore, a vital part of this effort must be dedicated to the Pennsylvania County jails. Let me emphasize that mental health and mental illness they're not crimes. Unfortunately, all too often, mental health issues, when not properly treated, cause behaviors that lead to interactions with the criminal justice system and ultimately our jails. Our jails are not equipped to address the needs of people who need mental health treatment, nor are they the best place for people with mental health issues to be. This repeatedly results in poor outcomes for these individuals and for their communities. County jails for years have been reporting a steady growth in the population of inmates within the jail system who have mental health issues, and they struggle to provide the services and treatment to meet those increasing needs. For these individuals to have access to services and to keep them from ending up in jail in the first place, there must be a serious working relationship between the state to enhance community behavioral health and crisis capacity. I would now like to invite Clinton County Commissioner and Chair of the CCAP Courts and Corrections Committee, Jeff Snyder, to discuss our goals related to our next priority, the juvenile detention capacity crisis.
Thank you, Lori. Counties are responsible for juveniles who interact with the criminal justice system, providing diversion programs and services, as well as shelter care for juvenile detention. These services are designed to assure the individual needs of juvenile offenders are met while ensuring community safety. However, evolving policies on juvenile services have led to the closure of many county detention facilities. As we seek to use community services wherever appropriate, staffing shortages have also made it more challenging to keep detention facilities open. But now, the means of increasing cases of serious and violent juvenile offenders are surpassing the availability of detention options. As of last month, Pennsylvania had 513 licensed detention center beds, but only 366 were operational due to staffing shortages. Meanwhile, the average length of stay in secure detention rose from 17 days in 2018 to 27 days in 2022. As a result, we are finding that youth charged with violent crimes are being placed in inappropriate settings, and counties have been forced to resort to extraordinary measures, such as contracting secure detention beds and sending youth out of state. We must make it easier to provide sufficient staffing numbers in detention facilities and provide the proper treatment for youth with complex behavioral needs in these proper settings. Achieving this priority would ensure that juveniles involved in the justice system receive timely community-based services and that we are cared for and protected in detention settings when necessary for their own safety and that of the community. I'd now like to invite Clearfield County Commissioner and Chair of the CCAP Technology Committee, Dave Glass, to discuss our goals related to broadband access and development.
Thank you, Jeff. Today, Pennsylvanians can perform their job, further their education, grocery shop, and complete just about any other important task with just the click of a button. Unless, of course, they happen to live in an area with limited or no broadband access. For too long, access to broadband for Pennsylvanians has depended on where they live. In 2024, that simply cannot continue to be the case. While we have come a long way in addressing the digital divide, there's still work to do to ensure the Commonwealth's communities have a safe, affordable, and reliable connection to the internet. Many counties have taken a leadership role in working with local partners to identify gaps in broadband service and have developed best practices and innovative ideas, such as regional cooperative models to address them. More than 2/3 of Pennsylvania counties have made their own investments in broadband access and development, doing feasibility studies, community surveys, infrastructure development, and other programs with community and industry partners. But funding remains one of the greatest needs to expand access to broadband, not only with physical infrastructure, but ensuring people have safe and secure access to a connection. With the promise of billions of dollars in federal investment, a state broadband plan, and maps now publicly available to better plot and measure connection, Pennsylvania is on the path forward. But these steps are just the beginning of implementing strategic, thoughtful processes to bring broadband access to all Pennsylvanians. We must continue to prioritize efforts to connect rural and hard-to-reach areas while aligning focus to digital equity, literacy, and access initiatives. I will now turn the podium over to Butler County Commissioner and Chair of the CCAP County Governance Committee, Kim Geyer, to discuss our priorities to increase the prevailing wage threshold and reform the right-to-know law.
Thank you, Dave. Under Pennsylvania's Prevailing Wage Act, the Pennsylvania Department of Labor and Industry sets minimum hourly wages for specific occupations that must be paid to workers on publicly funded projects over the cost of $25,000. Very often, these wage rates are higher than local market rates, and increasing the cost of construction, maintenance, and infrastructure projects for local governments. For counties, examples of these projects include broadband projects, construction of prisons and juvenile detention facilities, local courthouses, and many others. The $25,000 threshold that triggers the prevailing wage requirements has not been increased since the 1960s. And so now virtually all publicly construction projects in the counties are now subject to prevailing wages. By raising the $25,000 wage threshold to meet the 2024 levels, counties will be able to gain, again, to take on smaller projects at local wage rates rather than the prevailing wage rates. And that means public dollars could be used more efficiently and stretched further to meet the needs of Pennsylvania's counties and communities. To be clear, counties are not seeking change to the Prevailing Wage Act. Rather, we are seeking to work with our state and local government partners to return the use of the prevailing wage to a similar playing field as 60 years ago. This would allow counties to complete smaller projects without artificially increasing the overall cost of publicly funded projects. And by achieving this, counties increase their flexibility to spread limited financial resources across more projects, as well as dedicate more resources to critical county-provided services, thereby reducing the burden on taxpayers and government budgets at all levels in Pennsylvania. With regard to the right-to-know law, counties believe that government has a responsibility for transparency and accountability to its residents and stakeholders. However, there is a balance that must be maintained amongst access, privacy, and security concerns. The number of right-to-know requests continues to increase, particularly from repeat requesters and requesters who want extremely large amounts of information. In recent years, this has also started to include increased requests for overwhelming amounts of election-related information, often impacting county election offices amid their other duties administering elections. So many times these requests are vague, they're overbroad, or simply very large, and it can take hours and days to locate the wide array of records, to review and compile information, and possibly redact information to address privacy concerns. It may even require the involvement of an attorney or a solicitor to evaluate the request. In turn, this has dramatically increased workloads for county governments to deal with these requests. So counties are seeing more and more of these requests for large databases from commercial businesses that profit from this request. And by way of example, but counties are unable to recoup any of the additional costs for these requests because the current fee structure does not allow any fees beyond duplication and mailing costs. This ultimately forces taxpayers to pick up these costs and to foot the bill for these type of requests. Again, counties are fully supportive of the need to be transparent and accountable, but the law needs to be updated to help address the burdens caused by vexatious and commercial requesters. We can provide transparency while still meeting the initial intent of the right-to-know law. Counties also suggest a window of time around elections when election-related requests can be paused, assuring that information can be provided while allowing our county staff to remain focused on critical election tasks rather than addressing disruptive records requests. With proper reform, counties will be able to dedicate time and resources to providing key services to residents and taxpayers while maintaining integrity and transparency in county government. I would like to now turn this over to the Union County Commissioner and Chair of the CCAP Election Reform Committee, Jeff Reber, who will introduce our final priority, vote by mail reform. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. 2024 will, of course, be a year full of conversations around Pennsylvania's elections. And counties take their responsibility for the fair, secure, and accurate administration of Pennsylvania's elections very seriously. Since Act 77 of 2019, which expanded mail-in ballots to all voters, there have been multiple court decisions and appeals trying to help interpret different provisions of the law. With this in mind, counties have identified areas of the election code that need to be addressed to help counties meet their responsibilities for election administration with clear language in that law. Think, for instance, about situations such as ballot curing, signatures, naked ballots, and undated or misdated ballots. Counties want to work with the General Assembly and Governor Shapiro to improve the election code and also to give counties the needed tools to continue to run fair, secure, and accurate elections. Specifically, two areas counties are focused on is pre-canvassing and addressing unrealistic mail-in ballot application deadlines. These remain two of the most important changes that would significantly improve the election experience for both counties and voters without sacrificing ballot security or access to voting. Extending the pre-canvassing period would provide additional time for counties to prepare mail-in and absentee ballots for tabulation, which help counties balance their workloads and resources, and will help ensure results are available in a very timely manner. Also, with the challenges facing the postal system, the deadline to apply for a mail-in ballot just a week prior to Election Day means that there may not be enough time to get the voter's ballot from the county to the voter and then back to the county before the deadline. Moving the deadline back to 15 days prior to an election continues to allow voters ample time to request a ballot, still allows for emergency ballot requests for unforeseen circumstances, and reassures voters that if they meet that deadline, their ballot can make it back to the county and be properly counted. So while counties are fully confident in their ability to administer and run fair, secure, and accurate elections, we need the state's support to become as efficient as possible. So at this point, it's my pleasure to turn the lectern back to President Rivera for some closing remarks.
Thank you, Jeff. That concludes the 8 legislative priorities sought by counties this year. As you heard, many of our 2024 legislative priorities depend upon a strong relationship with the Shapiro administration and with the General Assembly to move forward with meaningful reforms. Pennsylvania counties will continue working hard to engage our partners and provide our residents with the best possible services. While there are many other legislative and regulatory proposals that will require our attention this year, these 8 priorities represent issues most pressing to our counties, and they are where we plan to focus our primary efforts on. We will call on Governor Shapiro and the General Assembly to continue and increase their engagement with counties to assure that the critical duties we provide as partners with the state are properly structured and funded. That partnership is critical to counties, to their mission, so that we can effectively maintain healthy, safe, and resilient communities. All of us present today and our colleagues in the counties across the state extend a hand in partnership in this effort. We will continue to offer creative ideas to empower counties to maintain programs and services in the face of fiscal realities. Together, we can implement solutions that better reflect the needs of Pennsylvanians, improve stewardship of taxpayer dollars, reduce cost, increase local flexibility, and ensure the quality of services we provide. You can find a listing of all these priorities with additional details on the CCAP website at www.pacounties.org. Again, www.pacounties.org. Again, I want to thank everyone who attended today's event. As I said at the beginning of the presentation, we will be available for interviews for the next 15 minutes or so. So thank you and have a wonderful day.